how California deported the middle class to Texas. The migration of Californians to Texas is only picking up speed. In 2023, 94,000 Californians moved to Texas. And in 2024, 106,000 Californians moved to God's frying pan. I mean Texas. It's a California invasion. Build a wall of brisket. Pew, pew. From 2012 to 2024, more than 1 million Californians moved to Texas. That is like every man, woman, and child leaving San Jose and building a city the size of Austin just in Californians. I spent my childhood dreaming of living in California, but by the time I got to California, my dream had turned into a nightmare. I spent hundreds of hours going down the rabbit hole of the policy choices California made that made home ownership impossible. They spent billions of dollars making the homeless crisis worse. They legalized petty crime, and how California's government combines the worst elements of socialism and libertarianism. Socialist in that the taxes are super high. Libertarian in that if you fall on hard times, enjoy living on the street, while a techie on a Lime scooter yells, learn to code at you. To be clear, I love both states, but in very different ways. Texas is like your conservative pew-pew packing trad wifey, where California is like hooking up with a super hot mentally ill girl who steals your phone and then keys your car. Let's start with every young Californian's favorite game, the housing crisis. It's like Monopoly, only you never get to buy properties and there's no free parking. The average priced home in California is $900,000. That's the average price in the entire state. San Francisco or LA, you're looking at 1.2 million bucks. To buy the average priced home in California, you're gonna need an income of $260,000. But the median income in California is 66 grand. So you need 4 times the median salary to buy the average home. This math ain't mathing. And these multi-million-dollar homes suck. Here's an example of one in Sunnyvale, the town I used to live in. $2.3 million for 1,000 square feet. Just look at this shack. I love the dirt yard. Nothing screams $2 million property like dirt. What is this, a dried out swimming pool for ants? But seriously, what is this cement crater? Sick kitchen, perfect for cooking. Y2K meth. I can cosplay Breaking Bad. What is this stage in the bathroom for? Are you gonna perform Hamlet for your wife while she showers? Why is there a broken drinking fountain on the side of the house? I get so thirsty playing in my multi-million-dollar dirt. I need a drink. The down payment for this shed would be $460,000. And your monthly payment would be almost 15 grand a month. That's $178,000 of after-tax income needed so you can drink mid-boba in Sunnyvale. That $460,000 down payment for Casa de Crap would buy you a really nice home in San Antonio cash. Why are so many people leaving California? Contrary to popular belief, homes aren't expensive in California because of the weather. It's because wealthy property owners have weaponized the government to make sure no new homes are built ever. These people are called NIMBYs, which stands for Not in My Backyard. They are against the construction of new homes. That way the value of their home will continue to go up. NIMBYs will literally pretend to be environmentalists to block affordable housing construction. For example, the wealthy San Francisco suburb of Woodside, California, claimed to be a mountain lion habitat. Yes, mountain lions just love strip mall parking lots. Ah, the natural habitat of the mountain lion, asphalt. The truth is, the residents of Woodside would rather be eaten by a mountain lion than let a poor person live in their town. The thing is, California's property tax system encourages blocking all housing development. Prop 13 limits California's ability to raise property taxes to 2% per year, which sounds awesome, but has horrible side effects. In Texas, property taxes are determined by the value of the home. So if your home value shoots up, your property taxes shoot up. If you don't want your property taxes to shoot up, you'd encourage more development. So there's a larger supply of homes, so the value stays flat, keeping your property taxes flat. But in California, your property taxes are basically fixed. So you have no reason not to block as much housing as possible because your property taxes won't go up, but your home value will shoot through the roof. Local schools are funded by property taxes. So when they locked property tax rates in California, it destroyed what was one of the best public school systems and turned it into one of the worst. The difference between the public school my son went to in California versus Texas was crazy. The public school in California couldn't afford school buses. It looked like it was made of cardboard, and California funds its public schools so badly, kids get out on half days on Friday. So now at 12 o'clock, you gotta figure out what you're gonna do with your kid. The public school in my little Texas town felt like an elite prep school in comparison. Having multiple children in California is playing life on hard mode. Everything's more expensive, often twice as expensive. Daycare in California, twice as much as Texas. Gas, twice as much. Food, more. Utilities, more. Everything, more. This is not a joke. In San Francisco, you qualify for low-income assistance if you make $105,000 per year. You make six figures and the city goes, you poor. On paper, California sounds like an amazing place to rent because of its super tenant-friendly laws, and no matter what you do, you'll never be evicted. But landlords love that no new housing is ever built because they can jack up the rent like crazy and refuse to fix anything because where are you gonna go? Look at these rents to live in Sunnyvale. For those who have never been, Sunnyvale is like if the most boring person you ever met was a town. Rent is a lot cheaper in Texas because they let developers go hog wild and build like crazy. Just look at Austin versus San Francisco. San Francisco only built 1,000 homes in 2024. Austin, a city the same size as San Francisco, built 21,000 homes. I wonder why Austin's rent went down. Look, Texas has a lot of problems, but building enough homes for people to live in is not one of them. California's crazy housing policies affect you because when they refuse to build housing, hundreds of thousands of Californians are forced to leave, pushing up prices for homes nationwide. Now let's look at the numbers of homeless in California versus Texas. California reports that there are about 180,000 homeless individuals in the state. 180,000? That's like the city of Fort Lauderdale without shelter, no place to stay. That's insane. Texas, on the other hand, never claims to be progressive, but is doing a much better job handling the homeless crisis. First, the homeless population in Texas is only 24,000 compared to California's homeless population, 180,000. And in the last 10 years, Texas's homeless population has gone down by 30%, while in the same time period, California's homeless population has gone up 43%, despite spending billions and billions and billions more dollars on it than Texas. Houston has lowered its homeless population by 2/3 with a super complicated strategy. Give homeless people homes to live in. It's not complicated. Why is this so hard for you, California, to figure out? Build homes, have the homeless people live in the homes. It is not that hard. For example, to build a single unit of low-income housing in Los Angeles, it costs $1 million. How is this possible? The entire point of affordable housing is that it's affordable. It's in the name. California spends $42,000 per homeless person per year. That's enough money to rent every homeless person in California an apartment that costs $3,500 a month. How is this possible? Where's all the money going? Apparently, California doesn't know because they're not even tracking it. California also hands out millions of dollars to nonprofits to help with the homeless crisis. It's really hard to figure out where the money is going in these nonprofits until this person on TikTok wanted to flex.
I am a public administrator.
How much do you make?
$242,000 a year.
Can you describe what you do in one sentence?
I oversee homeless programs for a very large nonprofit in the city of Los Angeles.
That's a big role. And what's your biggest struggle in that job?
Not enough housing, not enough housing, not enough housing.
It's wild to brag about making $240K helping homeless people, but even Moneybags agrees, build houses. Stop paying random people to administer nothing and build housing. Look, Texas is not perfect. I wish it did a lot more to help people struggling, but letting developers just build homes seems to have been a lot more effective than spending billions of dollars to make the homeless crisis worse. California loves crime. What could be done to improve the quality of life for California citizens? I know, passing Penal Code 488, the California statute that defines petty theft as the act of stealing $950 or less of property or services as a misdemeanor. What that means in English, if you steal stuff worth less than $950, the police will put you in timeout for 10 minutes. Who could predict that legalizing shoplifting could have negative effects? The San Francisco economy is 50% tech and 50% replacing broken windshields after smash and grabs. What I don't understand is who wants this. I've never met someone in real life who's pro-crime. What the good-hearted progressives in California often miss is that humans respond to incentives. If you don't punish people for shoplifting, they will shoplift more. If you want to break into people's trucks and shoplift in Texas, you're gonna speed run into forever game over. Texas ain't California. If you do bad things, there are consequences for your actions. You don't get to sue the victim of the crime. You go to heaven. Or worse, you go to prison in Texas. 2/3 of prisons in Texas have no AC. It's 105 in the summer in a cement building, no AC. There's one stat from the FBI which I think explains why California feels totally lawless. Robbery. California has more than twice as many robberies as Texas, despite only having a population that's 20% larger. Wild. And that's only reported robberies, because if you've lived in California, you know you stop reporting after the 15th smash and grab. And what doesn't help this is California's beyond incompetent government. Trying to build or do anything in California is impossible. Just ask Bill Maher.
The state of California drives you batshit insane, and it's infuriating. I wanted to put solar here. It took me 3 years. I was bitching about it on my show, and it didn't move them. Can you imagine? They're so arrogant and so entrenched that even a public embarrassment every week did not move them.
The Washington Park public swimming pool by my house in Sunnyvale is the perfect microcosm of dealing with the California government. It took $7 million in years to remodel this pool, and when it finally opened, they'd only let 50 people in the pool at a time, because in California, there's so many regulations, you need like one lifeguard for every 10 people in the pool, so then you have to show up there an hour before the public pool even opens, just so you have the chance to pay $10 per person to swim in a public pool. Here are a few of my favorite reviews. What this pool's website won't tell you: hours, schedule, fees, facilities, rules. No food, no floaties for kids, no swimming with kids on your back, no diving while people are in the deep end. Ridiculous rules go on and on. No wonder why California kids are the biggest sissies today. The pool does not eat. Sunnyvale is a very unfriendly place to the mentally disabled. But watching the staff yell at mentally disabled children and ridicule them was a bit much. Very unsafe area for children and anyone with disabilities. Exercise caution if you still want to go. That is just insane. I know this is just a public swimming pool, but every interaction with the California government is like this. Nothing works, everything is broken and confusing for no reason. And don't get me started on the taxes. In Texas, the income tax rate is 0, nothing, zilch. You don't even fill out a state form for your income tax. In California, on the other hand, once you start making 55 grand, you're at an 8% income tax rate, and the tax rate keeps going up to 13.3%. On a $100,000 salary in California versus Texas, this would be your take-home pay after deducting federal taxes. In Texas, your take-home pay would be about $77,000. In California, your take-home pay would be about $70,000. 7 grand for what? You get nothing. Nothing works. Broken schools, pothole-filled roads, crime, and chaos. But it doesn't stop there. The sales tax rate in Texas is usually around 8.25% in most cities, and as low as 6.25% in some small towns. In California, the sales tax can get crazy. In Los Angeles, the sales tax rate is 10.25%. So you pay almost 10% of your income in income tax. Then they take 10% of everything you buy. What's that I hear? The Californians yelling that their property taxes are lower? Sort of. This really depends on when you bought the house, because the average property tax rate in California is 0.7%, but this average is really distorted by Prop 13 freezing the property taxes of all the people who bought houses back in the 70s and are only paying $6 per year. If you want to buy a house today in California, you're looking at a property tax rate of about 1.2%, almost twice as much as what the average boomer's paying. If you locked in a property tax rate 30 years ago, good for you, but a young person cannot get the low property tax rate. So for the comparison, I'm going to use the average property tax rate I was seeing in the Bay Area and SoCal of about 1.2%. And I'm going to use the average Texas property tax rate of 1.74%. So even though California's tax rate is lower, the price of the home is so much higher, you're going to end up paying a lot more in taxes. So let's do the comparison. California, the median priced home is $900,000. At 1.2% property tax rate, your average property tax bill is looking like around $10,000 per year. In Texas, the median priced home is $350,000 with an average property tax rate of 1.74%. The average property tax bill would be about $6,000 per year. Yes, California wins if you compare homes that are the same price, but a $900,000 home in Texas is a mansion in just about any suburb. You can't get a $350,000 home in any major city in California. If you have an income and you're willing to live in a cheap house, you can save a fortune on taxes in Texas. But if you somehow have no income, you don't buy anything, and you inherited a house with a $200 a year tax bill thanks to Prop 13, stay in California. I may be holding California to too high of a standard. We don't obsess over Mississippi's bad choices, but California is different. It's the most blessed state in the country, so it should be held to a higher standard. It has perfect weather, the most beautiful nature, abundant natural resources, and it's incredibly wealthy. It should be a utopia, but the stupid government has just self-inflicted so many problems on California. I loved living in both states. California has perfect weather and beautiful nature, but it comes at such a high price. If you just want to live a normal middle-class life, Texas just makes it so much easier. Thank you for making it this far. Now I'm going to read the funniest comments I got on the last video. Why did the retiree throw his cash into a blender? He needed liquid assets. Enjoyed the content and energy, but why is an Amish guy interested in inflation anyway? Look, I wish I was Amish. They're like the happiest people in the world.